Hello everybody, and what's up? It is the Bush Hog here. Today we're going to be talking about getting in the real life trucking. People that know me from Instagram and stuff know that I am not a truck driver anymore. I work local. I'm a water well driller now, which does require a CDL because the trucks are very large. And don't hit that fence, please. Okay. Trucks are large, and you need a CDL to drive them. But I was an over-the-road truck driver for 4 years. Worked various jobs. I learned a lot, and then the last year of that, I was actually a owner-operator. And I'm not talking about a lease operator. I'm talking about I bought a truck, had a truck payment. I was under somebody else's authority, which means that I kind of like used their company to run my own shit. But I booked all my own loads, did my own fucking taxes, all the good stuff, right? So we're going to talk about that today. Because basically what's been going on is I've been thinking about getting back into truck driving. And I'm looking for a job, and because I'm experienced, whatever company I go to look for, truck drivers' favorite thing to do is complain. Okay, that's what they do. Whatever job I go to look for, I look it up on Indeed. Let's look up this company, see what people have to say, and I look it up on YouTube and stuff, and just see, what other truck drivers have to say about this place that I'm trying to go work at, or thinking about going to work at. And basically, I see a lot of, I guess, what I would call wrong thought in these sorts of videos, so I kind of want to talk about it, and I want to talk about to the people especially that are thinking about getting into truck driving for the first time, because there's money to be made, and it really is a great job. There are downsides, but it's still a great job. First thing, what to expect at school. Every trucking school is different. Basically, trucking school's job is to prepare you for the CDL license test to acquire your CDL. They are not going to train you to drive a truck, okay? Your first company that you go and work at is going to be the ones that actually, like, they are going to assign you to a trainer. You'll already have your CDL, but they're going to assign you to a trainer that really lets you get good practice in with his mentorship to help you, really get a gist on what you're doing. There are good trainers and there are bad trainers. I was lucky. I had a good trainer. Shout out to Chevelle. That guy was awesome. Helped me every step of the way. Told me all the tips and tricks that he knew from his 15 years of driving. Was always really cool and patient with me. So yeah, I ended up with a good trainer, and my first company was Warner Enterprises, which is one of the biggest trucking companies in the country, and that's probably the type of company you'll end up with your first company. But let's say it's not your first company and you're trying to pick a job, or let's say you have some kind of way of, you got a couple options, right? How to pick a job. First thing I want to get into is big versus medium versus small companies. Okay, big companies, they usually pay okay, not great. A lot of computer shit. It is a lot of computer shit. Your dispatcher does not want to talk to you. He wants you to send him a message on the computer, and I'll explain why that is later in the video. So it's mostly going to be computer shit. You are going to be, to that company, a driver number. They more than likely, unless you've been there a long time, are not going to know you on a first and last name basis. That's just how it is. They have 15,000 drivers. You know what I mean? So that's the truth of the big companies. You get decent pay. Why am I driving so slow? Speed limit is 80 miles an hour. You get decent pay, not a lot of personality, and there's a lot of freight with big companies, and a lot of it is drop and hook. Drop and hook, you'll see a lot of these drivers on YouTube complaining about unloading times, right? Or loading times. So you go to a customer And I'm thinking of one that I just watched today. This guy is mad because he went to a customer, not mad, but complaining. Goes to the customer. Customer says, "Oh, your load's not here. It's down the street at our other warehouse." He goes down the street. That customer says, "Okay, well, we have half of your load. You can get that here, and then you'll have to drive up to our third warehouse, which is 30 miles away." And that is an aggravation, which we will get to in the logistics section of this video. When you run for a big company, 90% of the time what you're going to be doing is you're going to show up to a place, take your loaded trailer, drop it off in the parking lot, and pick up an empty trailer and fucking leave. You're there for like 15 minutes tops. That's all you do, and it is easy. It's just bam, bam, bam. Very rarely are you going to have what's called a live unload. So that's another benefit of big companies. Let's go to medium-sized companies. Medium-sized companies, it's going to be usually a little bit better pay. Maybe not great pay, but a little bit better pay. It's going to be a lot more personal. You're going to have a lot more, I want to say, intimacy with your dispatcher, aka fleet manager. Sometimes, different companies use a different name, but it's the same fucking job. He's probably going to know you by your first and last name. He still may or may not want to talk to you. He still may want you to send him a message, which, like I said before, I'll get to. So, like I said, better pay, better personability with like when I worked for a medium company, I've always liked medium-sized companies. When I worked for a medium company, the vice president of the company walked into the orientation and said, "Hey, I just want you guys to know you are valued here, and if you ever have a problem, be it with your dispatcher or with your, the guy above the if you have a problem with your dispatcher, all right, well, you need to talk to the dispatcher manager. If that guy can't help you, talk to the general manager." And he said, if it really gets to the point where none of these people can come up with a solution for you, then you are more than welcome to call me, and I will handle it. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if he was bullshitting, but honestly, I feel like if he didn't care, he probably wouldn't even bother to walk in there, right? So you get a little bit more personal value as to how they treat you at a medium-sized company. A small company, this one is like a double-edged sword, because I've never worked for a very small company, but in my guessing, they're probably going to treat you like gold personally. Like, you're talking about a company that has, less than 20 trucks or something like that. Like, you are their bread and butter, and they know it. So they're probably going to pay you really well. Here's the downside. You're probably never going to have a drop and hook ever. Everything you do is going to be live, unload, and loading. And that means sitting around and waiting at shippers and receivers to get you loaded, which can take hours and can be very annoying, especially if you don't get paid while you're waiting. That's probably and then on top of that, you don't know, with a small company, they may not have that much business. There's always lots of freight to be moved, so I wouldn't be too scared of that. But they're not moving anywhere near as much freight as a medium-sized company, which a medium-sized company to me is like less than 1,000 trucks. That's just my personal opinion. Preferably a lot less. I would say somewhere around the neighborhood of more than 50, but like less than 500 or something like that. But still. So that's kind of what you get between the big, medium, and small companies comparison. Let's talk about pay scales. So you're going to look at a job, and they say, okay, we're going to pay you this much money for this job. We're going to pay you 40 cents a mile. Okay, well, you need to ask him, is this a sliding pay scale? Are you paying me 40 cents a mile on a load that's 150 miles? And then if the load is 350 miles, are you only going to pay me 39 cents a mile? you know, what's the catch here? The medium-sized company I worked at, they had two different pay scales. One paid less per mile, but had things like stop pay, tarp pay, all this other different little shit that they said they thought would make you more money. And then because that was kind of a complicated system, they also had it so you could just choose. You get 40 cents a mile, loaded or unloaded, and that's it. You don't get stop pay, you don't get fucking tarp pay. Um, you know, none of that fancy shit. It's just like a straight up pay scale, which that's what I chose because I just preferred to keep it simple. I don't want to sit there and look at my paycheck and think, oh man, did I get paid for that stop? Did I do this? Did I do that? I want to say, okay, I drove this many miles this week. This is what I should get paid. In the neighborhood of, you know what I mean? So you need to ask when they say they're going to pay you something. You need to know, like, if they don't want to give it up, because they will get you hired and get you in that orientation and tell you otherwise, and you'll sit there and say, well, the recruiter told me this, and they'll go, well, yeah, but you know, get in the fucking truck, start driving. Okay, home time. This is all over the place. If you're coming home every day, you're probably not going to make a whole shit ton of money. That's just the way trucking is. Daily runs for any kind of freight typically just doesn't pay shit. There's exceptions to this when it comes to like food delivery, like guys that deliver food to restaurants, that sort of thing. They make pretty decent money. But for the most part, when you first start and you're over the road, you're pretty much going to get a day off per every week you're out. Hang on, we're about to do a very illegal maneuver here. Cause fuck buses. So like when I was at Warner, I would stay out for 3 weeks and I would come home for 3 days. That is kind of shitty, but that's the way it is. You will make some money in those 3 weeks though. You know, I would typically bring home after taxes about $900 to $1,000 a week. These are 7-day weeks you're working though. Keep that in mind. And you're usually working 11-hour, 12-hour days, if not more than that, up to 14. So these are all things you have to keep in mind. So your home time is really dependent on you and what you want. If you want a lot of home time, don't expect a lot of money. But there are companies that are in the middle. Like when I worked at the flatbed company, the medium-sized company, technically I was only supposed to come home on the weekends for a 34-hour reset. Well, the way that worked out was a lot of the time I would be passing by the house on my way to a delivery so I could stay the night at the house during the week. And then just go do my delivery in the morning, and my dispatcher told me that he had no problem with that. He said if you're going by the house and you want to stop at the house and go to sleep or whatever and see your family, I don't care. As long as the load gets there on time and everything is copacetic, hey, I'm good with that. So home time is always going to be something. One thing you really want to be clear about with the recruiter is if they say you're home on the weekend, you need to ask him, when you say home on the weekend, do you mean a 34-hour reset, or are we talking a full 48 hours, I come home on Friday night, and I'm not leaving out until Monday morning? Because what a lot of them will do, which is what they did to me at that weekend job, is, yeah, you're home on the weekend, but we want you to leave noon Sunday to get up to your Monday morning delivery. That way, by the time you do that delivery Monday morning, you have a 10-hour reset in, and we can get you going again. Which, you know, that'll make you money, but also when you tell me I'm home on the weekend, to me that means Saturday and Sunday, not leaving on Sunday. I don't believe in working on Sundays. Let's see, what's the next thing? Dealing with your fleet manager, aka dispatcher. Okay, this one is something a lot of truck drivers have trouble with. They all complain about their fleet managers. I'm actually going to take a pause here and go pee. Be right back. Alright, so we're back. let's talk about fleet managers. I think what a lot of truck drivers don't understand, they get so aggravated, like, oh, I call my fleet manager, and he doesn't get back to me, blah, blah, blah. He's rude, he always sends me messages on my computer, he never calls me, etc., etc. What you have to try and, oh shit, hang on here. I'm gonna have to pull a slick maneuver. Try and understand their job, okay? You have to understand that you're not the only driver that's calling them, you know, who knows how many times a day, right? This guy probably has way more drivers than what you could ever imagine. Like, if you think the average person can handle dispatching 10 drivers, they're probably giving him 20, you know what I mean? So, number one, you have to understand that this guy is probably already overworked out of his fucking mind. He's probably not making that much fucking money. And, he's gotta have a little patience. Number two, yeah, I know I can bypass the way station, fuck you. Fuck, I hope I don't miss a turn. Okay, no, we're just going straight. Where was I going with this? Number two is always be nice. Actually, no, number two is always work fucking hard. If you're a runner, if you're getting loads done constantly, that that are on time, no fuss, you're not bitching to the dispatcher, he gives you a load, he knows you're gonna fucking run it hard and get it there early or on time, you're gonna be on his you know, good side, which is always good, obviously. And then that will round it up with number three. Always, always, always be nice and professional with your dispatcher. Do not fucking cuss him out, complain, be rude to him. You're always going to get more, more bees with honey than you will vinegar. It's the same way. A lot of these dispatchers are really overworked, and honestly, they don't get very much credit for it. They don't get very much consideration into that. So, if you're nice to him and you call him and say, hey man, sorry for bothering you. You know, I know you're busy. I just got a problem. I really need a little bit of help. If you could give me 5 minutes of your time, I'd really appreciate it. I promise you, I've never had a fucking problem with any of my dispatchers because I'm always nice. I'm always professional. You know, the worst I ever had was at my first company, which was a big company. I would call him and I would say, hey, I'm having this problem. He would say, well, did you send me a message? Because everything they're doing is on the computer, you know what I mean? It's a lot easier and more efficient to work that way. It's very difficult to work from a computer in the fucking truck. So your first instinct is to call. And you say, well, did you send me a message on the computer? And I would say, well, no. I mean, but I'm on the phone with you. And you say, well, I need you to message it to me on the computer, and then I'll have it in front of me, and I'll work on it for you. And then if that doesn't work out, then call me. And I'd say, okay. And then eventually I understood, like, this guy's probably handling 50 fucking drivers, and whatever I'm talking to him on the phone right now about, he's not even going to fucking remember 5 minutes from now, because he's probably got fucking 15, 20 other guys calling him on the phone, asking him shit or sending him messages or whatever. So if it's not something that he can make a computer note on with some kind of message in his face, you know, he's just trying to help me, but he's trying to help me with the only system he has to work with. And that's something that you have to understand. If you don't like doing the computer thing, if you're some old fuck that can't figure out how to use a goddamn tablet to send your dispatcher a message, I suggest you go to a smaller company where you can call, just like the good old days or whatever the fuck. But it's not the good old days anymore. We do things with computers. It's just, that's how it is. So, next topic is your truck good or bad? Your recruiter is going to promise you everything in the world. He's going to tell you that you're going to get a brand new truck that it's going to have some big boob like blonde in the back at all times just to give you a neck massage while you're driving down the road. They're going to promise you everything in the world to get you in that driver's seat. That may not be the case, okay? But what I want to say is the guy I was watching today, he said, yeah, my company tried to put me in a 2015 Freightliner, and it had 470,000 miles on it. This truck is on its last leg. This truck is one leg out of the grave. And I'm sitting there thinking that this guy's a fucking idiot. Because these trucks are designed... not the newer trucks, not so much, but I'll put it to you this way. I own a 2011 Freightliner right now. My dad is still an owner-operator through one circumstance or another. My dad pays for the truck, and he drives the truck basically like it's his truck. But when I was still driving, that was my truck. That 2011 Freightliner has 900,000 miles on it. It has never, ever, ever left me or him on the side of the road. It's never had any major engine trouble. And overall, it's been an extremely reliable truck all the way up to this mark. Yes, it's had, like, you know, once in a while it gets an air leak or something, or it needs the brakes replaced, like regular maintenance. But never any, I don't think I've ever had the engine opened up in that truck other to do what's called an overhead, which is kind of like where they take the valves and just readjust them and shit like that. So, don't think, oh, just because, these are not like cars. These trucks are designed to last for, just use 1,000,000 miles as your standard. There are trucks that make it to over 2 million miles. I've driven trucks with 1.6 million miles that you would have no fucking clue they had that many miles because of how well they drove, and they gave me no problem. So don't think just because your truck has a few 100,000 miles that it is one leg out of the grave and you can't drive it because it has a fucking minor oil leak or something like that. Don't be a fucking baby, because that's going to make your company just not like you, and they're just going to basically run you like shit until you quit. If they give you what you can obviously see as a shitty truck, then what you need to do is, you know, it's not bad to express your feelings about it. Say, hey, you know, this isn't exactly what I expected. Do you guys have any plans to put me in something better down the road? And they probably will say, you know, yeah, we know, we're sorry, this is just what we have here right now. We want to get you on the road and get you driving. If you give us a month, 2 months, whatever, you know, if this truck is acting up or giving you trouble or whatever, we'll switch you out. Once they see that you've proven your worth, if they know you're a runner, if they know you're going to fucking work, then they're going to want to put you in the best truck possible because they don't want you to have any problems. And you're going to have a lot of pull this way. But you can't come out the gate and just say, oh, yeah, I'm a runner, give me a brand new truck. They don't know that. For all they know, they can either give a guy that's been there, let's say for this guy that I was just talking about, for example, maybe that truck he got, maybe they had another driver that had been there for 10 years, okay, and this guy has 475,000 miles on his truck. It's been a good truck to him. They haven't really had any problems out of it. Okay, so they give this 10-year guy a new truck. And they say, okay, well, this truck that he just got out of, we haven't had any problems. Fuck you, boss. We haven't had any problems out of that truck, so we can just give it to one of the new guys and let him drive it, you know, until it comes to be the time where that guy can get a truck. But no, this guy bitched and complained, and he even says in the video he had to fight them tooth and nail to give him what was basically a newer truck. Well, that's not really right in my eyes. I'm not going to fight with you. But besides the fact, let's get to understanding logistics. Shippers and receivers. A lot of the time when there's a problem at a shipper, driver wants to call dispatch and bitch and complain. It's fine to call dispatch and tell them that it's taking a long time for you to get loaded, but you have to understand it is not your company's fault. As a guy that was an owner-operator, that I was my own dispatcher, I promise you a lot of these shippers and receivers are just fucked up. Like, they don't care how long it takes for you to get out. They really don't give a fuck. And a lot of the time, there is just nothing you can do about it. You are basically at their mercy. And the only thing you can do is, like I said earlier with the dispatcher, be polite, be nice, don't get pissy with them, because it's not going to get you anywhere. You just have to understand that. Now, also with this logistics, I heard this guy complaining, and he says, well, if you get less than a 150-mile trip, they just give you 150% of the gross. So you don't even know how much they're making off of that run. If you really want to think about how much the company is making, which most companies, medium to large size companies, are not making this, $2 a mile is probably the standard. So however many miles it is for your trip, tell yourself the company is probably making $2 a mile off this run. That means if you have a 1,000 mile run, they're probably making $2,000. And let's say you get 40 cents a mile, you're going to get $400 of that. Now you have to account in for fuel, insurance. You motherfucker, dude. Fuel, insurance, all that kind of shit that the company is paying for. So your wage, you know, you can decide if that's fair or not. But that's that. Pre-planning. This guy in this video is complaining about pre-planning. He doesn't realize that he is lucky to know what his next load might be. I never did. Anywhere I worked except for the one time I had a dedicated run, I knew about the load I was on, and that was it. They never told me, hey, this is probably going to be what you got next. If you get even that much, you should be thankful. Because otherwise, all the planning is up to you. And you always have to plan as a truck driver anyway. That's just part of it. But still. Final parts to say is living on the road. Your health is one thing. It is very difficult to not get fat as a truck driver. Some guys kind of have a natural metabolism that really helps them through it. Some guys, a lot of guys don't. Like you got to think you are sitting there, just sitting down, doing what I'm doing right now in this video game for 11, 12 hours a day. Like, if you can manage to be physically active, if you can get out of the truck and jog at the end of your day or work out somehow, trust me, do it. Even if it's not that much, I promise you it's going to make a big difference to your health. The way your blood can circulate and shit like that. I put on a lot of weight when I was on the road. And I'm not skinny now by any means, but when I got off the road and started working in construction, I didn't change my diet at all. And I lost 30 pounds like that within within 6 months. Just dropped it like it was nothing because I was actually moving again. This is the same thing. If you smoke, trucking is probably not the job for you because all normal smokers turn into chain smokers when they drive. You have nothing to do but sit there all day, and all you're going to think about is, well, guess I'll have a cigarette. Well, guess I have a cigarette. Well, guess I have a cigarette. Next thing you know, you're a fucking chain smoker, you know, 2-pack a day guy. You don't want to be that guy. Everybody that smokes knows that it's not good for you in the first place. Don't make it any worse on yourself. You either need to quit smoking altogether before you start truck driving, or fuck, I don't know which way to go. Anyway, you need to understand that you're gonna fuck your health up really bad if you're a smoker, or if you're already, you know, have trouble eating with, you know, eating healthy and shit like that. You're gonna make it a lot worse on yourself. You really don't want that. So the last thing I want to touch on is cleanliness. If you're the type of guy that absolutely needs a fucking shower every day, don't plan on it. It is possible depending on what kind of job you have, but a lot of the time you're going to be in a situation where it's time to work. It's not time to fucking stop and take a shower. You got somewhere you need to be at a certain time, and that's the fucking end of it. You know what I mean? In conclusion, I don't know why I made this video. I just, like I said, I was watching that other guy, and he made a lot of points that I didn't agree with. A lot of things that, you know, I think he was just ignorant about. And by ignorant, I don't mean it in like a insultive way. I mean, there were some things that I thought he was being an asshole about, don't get me wrong. But when I say ignorant, I just mean like he didn't know any better. He's just going on what he thinks, you know, the way it should be, that kind of stuff. But overall, I think the trucking is a good job. Look at these assholes trying to tell me to skip the park, and watch me scuff these fucking tires across here. Okay. And done. So, I guess that'll conclude it for this video. If you guys have any questions, I'll try and answer them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.